Well, hello everyone, Ogre27Kane here today, and we're going to do a review of the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection for Nintendo Switch. Let's do a little bit of an overview and figure out what this video is going to be all about. Well, first of all, we're going to discuss the performance, visual quality, and nostalgia factor to these three games, and whether or not this package is worth your money. It is a little expensive now, and there are certain factors that contribute to whether you should or shouldn't get this. So let's start out with Super Mario 64. Well, starting off first with the nostalgia factor, Super Mario 64 is one of the greatest games of all time, and it really was the deciding factor on whether or not the N64 was more powerful than the PlayStation 1. When you got to play this game for the first time, you really realized what Nintendo was working with and the future of what video gaming could be in 3 dimensions. This game is a fantastic callback to all the thrills and all the fun and all the great Christmases I had from the late 90s and early 2000s. One of my favorite things about this game is it's still playable today and has a ton of fun and a ton of effort put into it. Now, with that being said, I think we should move on and talk a little bit about the performance. Well, when you discuss performance, it's kind of a weird one, as the N64 version had its really high and its really low issues. The game was supposed to run at a flawless 60 frames, although there were some times with some crazy things going on. It would really disrupt this. The other thing that is really kind of crazy is the camera. I don't really remember the camera being so difficult going back and thinking about it from my childhood and how great the game was, but playing it now without a free moving camera and essentially your C buttons, which adjusted the camera back and forth, really affect things such as pop in and cutouts and whatnot and crazy stuff going on in the world that you wouldn't see in a regular 3D game today. Not that I'm saying the performance is bad, as I believe they really did a good job in emulating this game, and there's no issues there. They may have even smoothed out a few. But it is something to note that it is a little bit different from what I remember. Well, last up, let's talk about visual quality, as I believe this is really the greatest improvement I've seen in this version. The game is beautifully up-res to a full 1080p, and it does run very smoothly. Like I said, in performance it almost runs a little bit better. The visual quality was always kind of a weird one for me on this game, as I know it was touted as the most beautiful game on the N64, but I really saw some weird things going on in this world that really made me question it, such as the bad textures right there on some of the enemies. They really took their time and updated a lot of this, as the visual quality as a whole in each corner and each section, each little piece, was touched up. I really do enjoy these factors, as it really contributed to making this experience a lot better for me and a reason to get this version. This is probably my favorite version of Mario 64, even though I really do enjoy the DS version. So let's move on now to the next one, Super Mario Sunshine. So this is one of my favorite GameCube games of all time, and one of the games I was most excited for and simultaneously most disappointed in. I really do love this intro screen though, as it is one of my favorite ones of all time, so without further ado, let's show it off.
Super Mario Sunshine! Woohoo!
Huge nostalgia factor for me there. Well, let's start off first of all with the visual quality, because I really think that the visual quality in this game was fantastic to begin with on the GameCube, and it really probably took the least amount of work on here to get to happen. The GameCube was ahead of its time in a lot of different factors in a lot of different ways, and a lot of the things that made the visual quality so spectacular back then was just the operation and the way the GameCube was built to run. Nintendo's always had the mindset that they want their games to be easily accessible and fast to get into, and the GameCube, although being their first disc-based system, did emphasize how quickly it was to jump into most of these games. Now, performance is kind of a weird one for me, so I guess I do have to also mention that I really don't have any issues with the visual quality in this game, and I still think they're top-notch, some of the best. So let's talk about performance though, and the performance factor in this game is where it's the most disappointing. I really remember the GameCube one being very stable and very fluid, not having any issues. Yes, it only ran at 30 frames a second, but it was a very, very stable 30 frames a second. Seeing it now in this emulator that Nintendo's built for it, it is weird, to be honest. The game underperforms in a lot of these areas, and I know that they up-resed it from a meager 480 to a 1080, but at the same time, I really didn't expect this many problems to occur with it. There's a lot of weird button inputs, nothing really feels the same, timing is a little off. To say the least, I really don't feel like Nintendo cared too much about this game, especially when you see how well Mario Galaxy performs. It's kind of an off-putting thing, especially for someone like me who really enjoyed this game and loved every little bit and piece of it. But it is a lot I have to mention, especially if you really enjoyed this game. It may disappoint you in a certain couple of areas. That doesn't mean it's not worth playing through again, and the game is top-notch to begin with, and I do have to mention on top of that the nostalgia factor it is tremendous. If you remember that intro screen or any of the bosses in this game or any of the massive upgrades, because you gotta remember, we were coming from Mario 64 to this game, and this game was a tenfold leap in not only graphics, sound quality, size of world, characters. Every single factor that went into this game just made this game memorable. And if you're one of the meager small 35 million of us that got a GameCube and actually enjoyed these games, you knew what everybody was missing out on. I also had a PlayStation 2, I also had an Xbox, and I enjoyed a lot of games on there, but the GameCube just had this personality to it. And Super Mario Sunshine epitomizes that. It really fits alongside games like Metroid Prime and some of the other great GameCube games. It's great to see them putting their time and effort into a lot of these and bringing them back, because this is when Nintendo was really down in the dregs and had to be creative. So in starting out with the visual quality, it really goes to show and speak for itself how beautiful this game is. This game was one of the best games on the Wii, and it really shows and highlights Nintendo's ability to use their hardware to its peak potential. Mind you, at the time, the Wii was using basically the same technology as the GameCube, and it was in a market competing with HD systems the like of the 360 and PS3. This game still is one of the best looking games of that generation, and seeing it up-resed in 1080p highlights Nintendo's ability to create gorgeous art. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about performance a little bit. So the performance in this game, originally on the Wii, was fantastic. There was no issues, had a very stable locked frame rate, and all animations and character development throughout the game was just stunningly beautiful. As you can see with this bee here, you can almost see every single hair on her body. Now you take that and run it from 480 up to 1080p, you'd think you'd have some issues, as I said with Mario Sunshine, but you don't at all. Nintendo really took a lot of time and effort into perfecting this game, and not just that, but moving over the control scheme to a way that fit both the handheld mode and the Pro Controller or Joy-Con modes. Everything about this game screams Nintendo quality, and it really blows my mind to see how well they did on performance with this game compared to Mario Sunshine. Mario Sunshine really needed the effort put into it, and it didn't get it, and this game probably didn't need as much, and it got the over-treatment. I don't mean that in a bad way, because if you enjoy Mario Galaxy, this is definitely the best way to play it, and a really fun and enjoyable experience. So in nostalgia, in closing if you will, this game is highly worth your money, and it really disappoints me to see that Nintendo produced not enough copies of this, as it's already shot up past the $100 mark. I really think this is a game that everybody should own in their collection, and what's honestly best about it is this is a complete on-the-cartridge collection. There is no need for any updates to play this or any issues like that. So, if you can, pick this up before it's too late, because this will definitely not only be one of the most valuable games on it, but also one of the funnest games and most complete games on the Switch. Thank you for watching today's video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre27Kane, signing out.